Hey Eagle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now, and today let's go and get into the latest Eagles news and rumors, and there's some good and some bad, and we're going to break it all down for you guys here. Let's start with the Andre Dillard injury, and I'll start with Andre Dillard because a lot of people have been DMing me on Twitter the past couple of days asking me, hey, we saw Andre Dillard left practice on Sunday with an injury. What's the update? And the update is there is no update, and this is kind of strange because normally if you have a player get injured on like, let's say Sunday, normally by Monday evening, someone will have met with the media and given an update on that. We just haven't had that happen right now with Andre Dillard. There are no details on what is going on in terms of, is it upper body, is it lower body? It's fascinating that no one has let us know. Now, obviously, this is being filmed on a Tuesday morning, and so if you watch it Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, there could be an update, and you go, oh, Thomas, I already updated it. Just remember, we film these, you know, we're not live every single day. We're just talking about, in terms of right now, what we know. There isn't anything to know. And this kind of goes to an overall thing with the Eagles' offensive line. It's been kind of beat up. I mean, Lane Johnson's been in and out. He had the COVID thing going on. Jason Peters has been in and out. They've not had all 5 starting offensive linemen on the football field together yet so far in training camp. That's something to keep an eye on with the start of the NFL season happening just a couple of days or a couple of weeks away, really. Dillard is missing valuable reps, and the hope is he's fine and can get back, but it's something to keep an eye on. This is the only info I could find in terms of what happened to Andre Dillard. NJ.com says, quote, Dillard had been working with the first-team offense when he walked off the field to the sideline and was checked by a trainer. Dillard and the trainer then went into a medical tent outside of the facility. Before heading into the building, Dillard did not return to practice. Again, this was Sunday. The fact we don't have an update and it's Sunday is a little bit concerning. So then you start asking who's going to play left tackle, and right now they've actually moved Matt Pryor and Jordan Mailata to left tackle. They've been moving both of them to that spot in terms of just getting multiple people reps at left tackle. You say, well, Thomas, wouldn't Jason Peters go from right guard to left tackle? And the answer is in an actual NFL game, yes, but right now, no, because Peters has been out, kind of a day-to-day injury thing, but he's been working at, obviously, learning the right guard spot. So it's a little bit interesting as to what the offensive line is doing right now. It's very much a patchwork offensive line, and you're seeing a lot of guys being plugged in at different spots. A guy like Jack Driscoll, Prince Tega Wanogho could also be a left tackle situation, especially Prince Tega Wanogho, but all the reports have shown that Wanogho is not ready to start at left tackle or even close to being ready to start at left tackle. So it just goes to the importance of Andre Dillard this year. They have backup plans, and sure, they could put Driscoll there at right guard or Pryor there at right guard and then go ahead and move Jason Peters back to left tackle. They just don't want to have to do that, and they've been trying to avoid that so far in training camp. So the hope is it's not a big injury, it's not a serious injury, and that he's going to be back and fine, and maybe he'll be back tomorrow, and it'll be no worries on a Wednesday, but as of right now, there is no real detail on the Dillard injury, and it's a little bit concerning, at least for me. Let me ask you guys this, pin comment down below, is this Dillard's last chance to start? Like, if he were to be injured long-term or struggle this year, is this his last chance? I think it is. I think even though he's still a young player, first-round draft picks have got to perform. The Eagles have had a couple of first-round draft picks not perform the past couple of years, maybe that one linebacker, Chip Kelly, drafted like years ago. He's got to show up. Type Y down below for yes if this is his last chance. Type N down below for no if it is not. All right, moving on. The Eagles have made a free excuse me. Eagles made a free agent signing at cornerback. And it's interesting because some people are thinking this is a depth thing. Some people are thinking this is a starting thing. I'm going to try and break it down for you guys right now. So Trevor Williams was signed by the Eagles, and he actually was an Eagle back in January, was signed back then, but then was waived whenever they were trying to go from 90 down to 80, or whatever it was, 100 down to 90, and then, of course, 90 down to 80. He was one of those cut casualties, and it was like, okay, well, you know, forget about him, move on. Well, he actually has been re-signed, and maybe it's due to the fact that Sidney Jones has missed 5 days, at least the past 5 days in training camp, or maybe it's due to the fact that the Eagles secondary has been struggling a little bit so far this offseason, and a guy like Trevor Williams, you see right there, 27 starts in 4 seasons, could be a good depth option, especially if the younger Eagle cornerbacks are going to continue to struggle. Like, more depth is never a bad thing. Now, more on Trevor Williams here in just 1 second. Make sure you guys are subscribed, but also clicking the notification bell, because as you see here, Eagles make a move, and we have a video covering it. Just how it works. On this channel, the Eagles do something happens to the Eagles, injury, re-signings, free agents, whatever, we cover it immediately, almost immediately here on Philadelphia Eagles Now, so make sure you guys have the notification bell clicked. That way you guys can be notified whenever we go ahead and do the latest video. So Williams, again, is not is not a veteran, but he still has played a lot, obviously, whenever he was originally taken by the San Diego, or I should say Los Angeles Chargers back in 2016. 27 starts. I mean, that's a lot of starts for a young cornerback. 3 interceptions, 110 tackles, and 1 fumble recovery. And the question is, where does he fit in this overall depth chart? If you, again, have a Sidney Jones injury, then you could see him just sliding up right there. Or is it a matter of Rasul Douglas has been struggling, Sidney Jones has been struggling, and are they really going to want to start Crayvon LeBlanc if they don't like Avonte Maddox? Like, there are so many young cornerbacks right now in Philadelphia. I think they're just trying to get as many of them reps, and they're just going to kind of figure it out. This is another reason why I really wish there was training camp, because with training camp, or excuse me, there were preseason games, because with preseason games, you could just put in a cornerback for 2 different cornerbacks for the first quarter, and then just swap them out and then put Rasul and Sidney Jones back there and see who actually plays best against real competition. 1-on-1 drills and 11-on-11 drills and 7-on-7 drills are great, but it doesn't give you a full scope of how good that player can be once the pads are actually on for real, not just practice pads, because they still hit, but not as hard, but for real week 1 against the Washington football team. So it looks like a depth move. I think it's going to be a depth move, but I think it's also a, hey, these guys are struggling, not named, Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox. We've got to have some good players back there, and so let's go ahead and sign a guy that we signed originally back in January who at least knows the defensive playbook a little bit and can be helpful there on defense. There are still some good deals on Eagle jerseys happening right now. We got a ton of them. I mean, basically any major player in Philadelphia, if you want one of their jerseys before the start of the NFL season, we have you guys covered here. Chatsports.com/Eagle jersey is the place. Eagles jersey is the place to go and pick that one up. We say that again, chatsports.com/Eagles jersey. You see it down below me right here. The link, just click it down below in the description box. Go ahead and pick one of those fresh Eagle official NFL Nike jerseys up right now. Final thing we need to get into is this COVID-19 false positive scare that rocked the NFL over the weekend, which you probably heard a little bit about, but you're probably wondering, did it affect the Eagles? And the answer is yes. We cannot say for sure the Eagles have false positives, but as I will show you, it seems like the Eagles had some false positives. So the Eagles had about 5 players who sat out one day over the weekend with an illness. They sat out practice with an illness is what the official training camp injury report said, and then they were back the next day. This coincides perfectly with the NFL having 77 false positive tests this weekend via BioReference Labs, and BioReference Labs, of course, is the official tester of the NFL, and so they are the ones who do the testing and then send the testing in and then get them back. And apparently, one lab in New Jersey was the one that was contaminated, had contamination, and thus all of the false positives. So it's not a big deal because the Eagles turned out to not be positive, but still, this is a very good example of the chaos that could happen once the NFL season starts. Like, false positives could really ruin a week. It's good that it happened now, not they started the NFL season, but I just hope that it doesn't happen when we get to the NFL season, because a false positive could be the difference between Carson Wentz starting week 1 or starting week 4 or whatever game it is, or Jalen Hurts starting because Carson Wentz has coronavirus, aka a false positive. So here's what the independent medical advisor Patty Walton told NFL media just the other day about false positives. Said, quote, "They believe it occurred underneath their biological safety hood. It is very easy to contaminate samples if you have a sample that's positive and then you accidentally get it on your hand or touch the lid and then touch the next 2. You're talking about very small, minute amount of DNA material, and it's an easy process to be able to transfer that." So that's it's just an interesting look here at what the Eagles and the rest of the NFL are having to deal with in terms of these false positives. These were the 5 Eagles with the illness, again, not confirmed to be false positive, but probably was. Corey Clement, Vinny Curry, John Hightower, Son Ridgeway, Anthony Rush. So a lot of backup guys, but still, this is a very good example of what could happen once we get to the start of week 1. Will you go to a game despite all of this? I don't know if Philadelphia is ever going to allow fans in terms of this NFL season, but would you go to an NFL game in 2020? If you would, type 1 down below for yes, type 0 down below for no. The Eagles, of course, their schedule is what it is. Washington, Rams, Bengals, 49ers, and then, of course, weeks 5 through 8, Steelers, Ravens, Giants, and Cowboys. Any one of these weeks could be a very interesting week if you start to get kind of false positive things, or things in terms of if someone gets a false positive and then how long he has to sit out before they can figure things out. But at least they were able to figure it out pretty quickly overall in terms of, it happened and it happened. They sat them all down for a day and then they were able to figure things out. Final thing here, and this is kind of some breaking news that I was kind of looking at as we were getting to the bottom of our news outlet. The Eagles have signed a tight end in Tyrone Swoops, and they have waived Robert Davis, which is interesting that they would let go of Robert Davis. So they bring in Tyrone Swoops to kind of be another backup tight end. Obviously, Ertz and Goddard are going to be those 1 and 2 tight ends. ends, and so this is a depth move, probably a practice squad move overall. But they let go of Robert Davis, who, of course, was a wide receiver last year who had to play once Philadelphia had every single buddy and their mother injured at the wide receiver position. So an interesting move that happened today. It's not a big move. That's why we're going to have it at the bottom here of the news, but it is interesting because you probably saw it come across your Twitter feed and you're saying, who's TYRONE Swoops? He'll be a backup tight end who probably will just be a practice squad guy or a depth guy on the final 53-man roster. There you go, though. Ultimately, for today here on a loaded Eagles news and rumors. Want to get you guys the latest stuff on injuries, the latest stuff on signings, and those COVID false positives. Interesting stuff happening right now. Ultimately, for today here on Philadelphia Eagles Now, I'm Thomas Mott signing off for the rest of your day.